Welcome back, everyone. We're doing a deep dive today, and I think you're going to find this one particularly interesting. We're diving into Sapphire FUE hair transplants. I know you've been looking into hair restoration solutions, so I think this is going to be right up your alley. It's pretty fascinating stuff. We're talking gemstone blades, maybe even a trip to Turkey, blending science and travel today.
Well, it's definitely a hot topic right now. Sapphire FUE is becoming incredibly popular, especially with men in the UK and the US who are looking for a really advanced solution.
So, all right, let's unpack this a little bit. What exactly is this Sapphire FUE technique? I know hair transplants have evolved a lot from those, from the older strip procedures. So where does Sapphire FUE fit in?
Yeah, so you're right. The older follicular unit transplantation, or FUT, the strip method, it had some downsides. It involved removing an entire strip of scalp, which often led to pretty noticeable scarring. And then FUE came along, follicular unit extraction, which is much less invasive. It extracts individual hair follicles. And Sapphire FUE is basically the evolution of that.
Okay, so instead of a strip of scalp, they're taking individual follicles. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I got to ask about the sapphire part. Are we talking about actual sapphires here?
You heard right. Sapphire blades are the big innovation here. They're what's used to make those tiny incisions where the hair follicles get implanted.
Okay, so this isn't just like some fancy marketing term. We're talking real gemstone blades. So what difference does that make? Why not just use regular surgical steel?
Well, that's what's so fascinating. Sapphire blades are incredibly sharp, but also really smooth. So they allow for much smaller and more precise incisions compared to steel. So that means minimal trauma to the scalp, which also means faster healing, less scarring, and ultimately a much more natural looking result.
So it's these smaller incisions that are the key to avoiding that plugged look that you sometimes see with older transplants.
Wow, that's really interesting. I imagine the precision of those incisions is really important for getting the hair density that people want.
Exactly. With sapphire blades, surgeons can implant more grafts in a smaller area, so it creates a denser, more natural appearance. It's a really significant advancement for getting results that just blend seamlessly with your existing hair.
So this precision and the natural, this is what's driving the popularity of Sapphire FUE. Is that why I keep hearing about people going to Turkey for this procedure?
It's definitely a factor. The rise of Turkey as kind of a hair transplant hub, it's a really interesting phenomenon, and Sapphire FUE is a big part of that.
Okay, that IS interesting. I've read about places like Antalya becoming like hotspots for hair transplants, especially at this clinic called Profue. So what's drawing people there? Is it just about the cost? Cost is definitely a factor, yeah. But it's not the whole story. You see, Turkey has invested a lot in medical infrastructure. So they have state-of-the-art clinics and highly skilled surgeons, specializing in hair restoration. But the cost of those procedures can be significantly lower than in places like London or New York.
So it's like you're getting the same level of expertise, but at a fraction of the cost. Yeah, I can see the appeal in that.
Exactly. And a lot of the clinics have really adapted to this growing medical tourism trend. They often offer these really comprehensive packages that include everything from accommodation and airport transfers to translators and post-operative care. It's a very streamlined experience.
Wow, so it's not just about the procedure itself, it's about the whole experience, combining a medical procedure with a trip to the Turkish coast. It almost sounds like a vacation.
Well, a lot of people see it that way. And, for some people, that added element of relaxation and a change of scenery can make the whole process a little less daunting.
So, okay, this is all sounding pretty good so far. But what does this all mean for you, the listener? If you're considering hair restoration, is Sapphire FUE in Turkey like the answer?
I mean, it's definitely worth exploring. But before you book that flight to Antalya, it's important to understand a few key things.
Like what? I'm guessing it's not as simple as just picking a clinic and going for it?
Right. First of all, not everyone is a good candidate for Sapphire FUE. It depends on the extent of your hair loss, your hair type, other individual factors.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So what's the first step someone should take if they're interested?
A personalized consultation with a reputable clinic is absolutely crucial.
So not all clinics are created equal. What should someone look for in a reputable clinic?
That's a great question, and it's one we should delve into next. There are some key factors to consider, especially when you're traveling abroad for a medical procedure.
So, okay, let's talk about choosing a clinic then. You mentioned reputable clinics. What are some red flags people should be looking out for?
Yeah, that's a really important point, especially with the rise of medical tourism and all. You want to make sure you're choosing a clinic with Experienced surgeons who have a proven track record. With Sapphire FUE specifically, look for board certifications, memberships in professional organizations, those kinds of things. And and don't hesitate to ask about the surgeon's experience,
Yeah.
with this particular technique.
So it's not just about finding the cheapest option, it's about finding the right surgeon.
Absolutely. You're making an investment,
Yeah.
you know, in your appearance, your well-being. So you don't want to be cutting corners. Do your research. Look for clinics with positive testimonials from patients, you know, before and after photos that show natural-looking results. Transparency is key.
What about communication? If someone is traveling to Turkey, is language going to be a barrier?
Well, most reputable clinics, especially those that cater to international patients, they have multilingual staffs that offer translation services. Clear communication is so important. Throughout the whole process, from the initial consultation all the way to post-operative care. Don't be afraid to ask questions and, make sure you understand every single step of the procedure.
So it sounds like doing your due diligence is really, really important here. Anything else someone should consider when they're choosing a clinic?
Yeah, look for clinics that offer comprehensive aftercare. Sapphire FUE is minimally invasive, that's true. But proper post-operative care is essential, for optimal healing and to get the best results. The clinic should give you detailed instructions, support you throughout the recovery process.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so let's just kind of recap what we've learned about Sapphire FUE so far. We're talking about individual follicle extraction using these incredibly precise sapphire blades, which leads to, less scarring, faster healing, natural-looking results. And it seems like Turkey has really become a hub for this procedure, with clinics offering expertise and affordability. But as you said, choosing a reputable clinic with experienced surgeons, that's absolutely vital.
You got it. It's a really exciting development in hair restoration, but you have to approach it carefully, make informed decisions.
Curious about the long-term implications. Is this just a trend? Or is Sapphire FUE here to stay? Do you think it'll become the gold standard for hair transplantation?
It's hard to say for sure, predict the future,
Oh,
but the advancements with Sapphire FUE are significant. The precision, the minimal invasiveness, the natural-looking results, it really addresses a lot of the limitations of those previous techniques.
so you think it has the potential to revolutionize the field?
I think it's a game changer for sure. And, as technology continues to evolve, we can expect even more refinements, innovations in the future. It'll be interesting to see how this influences the whole industry.
That is exciting. We've talked a lot about the technical stuff and the logistics of traveling for this procedure, but there's another dimension to this, I think, the emotional one. Hair loss can be a really sensitive issue for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Hair is often tied to our identity,
Yeah.
self-esteem. For many people, hair loss can really affect their confidence, their self-perception is a big deal.
Right. And I think that's where the true impact of Sapphire FUE lies, or any effective hair restoration technique, really. It's not just about the physical change. It's about how it can make someone feel good about themselves again.
Yeah, I totally agree. Reclaiming your hair, it can be a deeply personal experience. Transformative even. It can boost confidence, improve social interactions, even have a positive ripple effect on other areas of your life.
It's amazing, right, to think that something like hair restoration can have that kind of impact.
It really is. Yeah, it shows how connected our physical and emotional well-being are. Like when we feel good about ourselves, it shows, it affects our confidence, our relationships, just our whole outlook.
Yeah, that's a really powerful message. It's not just about the technical stuff, it's about the potential for a real transformation.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming your hair, but also like a sense of self-assurance, feeling whole.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Sapphire FUE, what's the one thing you want our listener to remember?
I'd say this. If you're thinking about hair restoration, do your research, choose a good clinic. But most importantly, really think about what getting your hair back could mean for you. It might not just be a cosmetic change. It could change how you see yourself, how you interact with the world.
That's a great point to end on. This has been a really fascinating conversation. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us.
My pleasure. Remember, knowledge is power. The more you know about your options, the better decisions you can make.
And to our listener, we hope this deep dive gave you some valuable information and sparked your curiosity to learn even more. Until next time, keep learning and keep diving deep.